excited to talk to you guys about kind of Atlassian user group community, how do we measure ROI, kind of two different ways. How do we convince people who aren't community minded to think that we are legit and valuable? And then how do we internally also decide like what is healthy and thriving as we look to scale? So feel free to interrupt me or questions whenever, but I'll go ahead and start. So a little bit about who I am. Was really proud of this slide. But I'm Ashley. I'm in Austin, Texas. Got into community like way back when I was working in the hospital setting in healthcare. And then got my master's in Austin, ended up joining a nonprofit and running their in-person community, and then made a really exciting hop over to Atlassian for the past about 2.5 years and kind of working on the team that grows our in-person community user groups. So a little bit more on who or what the Atlassian user groups are. So it's just over a decade now. Our Atlassian customers have come together, and these are all in person around the world to network, share ideas, solve problems, and just like hear use cases on how other people are using Atlassian products to make work life easier. And really, these Atlassian user groups, like I said, they're geographically based in person. And the amazing thing is that we have these volunteer leaders, similar to what I know probably a lot of you have, who do everything for us. I mean, we'll send them swag. We've kind of built like community platform for them to connect with each other. We have Bevy that, enables them to market these events out to their community. But, they're ordering the pizza, they're sourcing the speakers, they're making sure everything's set up and that people are having a great time. And they're truly kind of the key to the success of our ability to grow like 60% year over year and really thrive quality-wise as well. And right now we're actually a decently probably 18,500 community members. And there are about 125 different active user groups around the globe. And for us, active means that they're meeting at least 4 times a year. So here's a little bit more of kind of a breakdown of where we've come from. So our first user group, which wasn't called user group in 2006, was in McLean, Virginia, completely grassroots. We had no idea what was happening. These people just started meeting, and then we got wind of it and we're like, oh, that could probably be something solid to build a program around. Let's do it. It was pretty lax until about 2013, where we really started gaining momentum and kind of created an official framework that it pretty much is as it is now. So again, like having a community manager to really engage with these leaders, giving them support, giving them content, being able to reimburse them, and really engage with them in a supportive way. And then it was so exciting. This past year, I was joined by 2 other people. So we have 3 community managers now, and we're kind of focused by region. And again, just really helping to engage those leaders and make sure that they're not dropping off because this is too intense for them or we're not giving them what they need. And so now we're at over 18,000 members. Like I said, we're averaging at least past few months around 40 to 50 events per month, which is insane because 18 months ago, it was like 25 events per month. And again, about 116 active user groups and about 220 active leaders. Super exciting. So the big thing I know that I believe this is about is how do we kind of demonstrate value other than all the feels? So we're all a bunch of community people, get super jazzed up when you see like your group talking and like people actually making connections and things clicking into place. Like that is totally our jam. But when I'm trying to explain to the VP of whatever that he should give me more money to scale this program, like me being like, but the feeling is amazing and like the energy, like he's like, that's super cool, but like how is this also like furthering all the rest of our like mission? Like qualitative is great, but like I need to see quantitative. So that's kind of the piece that I'll talk about a little bit right now. How do you convince people that aren't community minded that what we do is legitimate help to the company or whatever kind of you're working towards? So First, I'll talk about like a little bit for us. So kind of Atlassian, our goal is our mission is like provide the tools to help every team unleash their full potential. So sometimes people know us by product, things like Jira, Confluence, HipChat, Trello are some of our products. And our goal is that these tools really help you and your teams get stuff done, whether you're on the same place or all across the world. Like, what are easy ways to make your work better and easier, whether from a marketing HR perspective to actual software building, we've got you covered. So with that, we're obviously really interested in who's buying our products, who's continuing to use our products, both adoption and implementation. We were able to track domains, so kind of larger email addresses that have user group members like attached to them and those who don't. And when we compared, there's a 6% higher renewal rate for domains that have like user group members within them. And that might not seem like a ton, but for us that translates into a few $1 million. So that's definitely interesting to people who are more data driven. The other thing that we're really interested in, and is a huge metric for our company, is a net promoter score for our products. So how happy are people with the products? How happy are they that they're using them? For the most part, people probably don't have a choice. It's, an admin somewhere kind of deemed that this is the software that they're using. We noticed that NPS for our products, our two largest ones, the NPS for people who do attend user groups, that's 20 to 30 points higher than those who don't. You do have to take a grain of salt in knowing that likely people who are motivated to go to a user group after a day of work are probably people who are more invested in our product, but nonetheless that is a pretty significant jump for us. So that really helps us prove that people who are going to user groups help, whether or not it's that we're just convening our champions in a place to make them really feel invested, to make them feel that we have, we're really listening to them and that we value them. And it's also a place for people to come in and learn, how to use stuff better, what are good shortcuts, and to hear what other people are doing. So it's kind of both sides of that. So that's kind of the like number crunchy thing that I have no control over, and someone who's really smart and a data scientist gave me that information. So that's helpful for some people who are like, I don't have access to that. Like, that's super great for you. Here's stuff that I actually have control over measuring day to day, and would be impossible without our analytics dashboard on Bevy. And has really, since we moved over in February, which is kind of insane because we're like fully ramped up. I don't know how. Thanks everyone on the Bevy team. We've been able to like have a way closer pulse on this, and it's really helped us be able to like make a case for the value of our in-person community. So there's kind of 3 must-haves for our team. The first one is activity. I'll touch on that first and then talk a bit about engagement and then feedback. So activity for us is just like, how often are people getting together? So this is actually a still from our dashboard in Bevy. So what I can do, I used, looks like I did March and April. So what I was able to do is look, I can do this kind of anytime and see, okay, how many events are slated for these 2 months? We had 103 events that were planned for these 2 months. And then I'm also able to easily compare. We really care about year over year growth. And I'm able to compare year over year. So we were like 116% growth, which is insane. And this is really helpful for us to show because, for us at least, it's like, hey, we added 2 new people. We actually have bandwidth to really engage these people. Like, look for yourselves. We've, well over doubled kind of how many events we were having in the same amount of time. And it also for us shows, if you're not looking to convince anyone about your amazing growth, like, hey, our leaders are clearly happy. They're hosting way more events. We're adding clearly new cities in here. Something I'm also able to drill down that I use as an example is our Toronto user group actually held 3 events this month because they wanted to and they're crazy and awesome. And so I'm able to pinpoint this stuff really easily. And then again, like these are really great examples of us being able to check on the health of our events, of our city, and how many, events they're hosting. As you guys know too, like the more you tend to host probably per quarter, the more likely people are going to continue to remember that you exist and continue to show up to your event. So that's something that's really great for us as well. So that is kind of the whole event side. The other thing for us, just FYI, like we care about we have the Americas, EMEA, and then APAC. So for us, like APAC is definitely an emerging market, Asia Pacific. So it's really helpful for us to be able to parse out and filter our regions, because we have maybe like our goals for growth in APAC are a lot more aggressive than say the Americas, who are pretty well solidified as like our powerhouse. Engagement. So like, it's great if we're having a whole bunch of events, but it doesn't mean anything if like 3 people are showing up to them. So we're also able to measure, that's something huge for us, is engagement. So how many people are actually showing up to these events? And for us, it's also really interesting to know like how many people are RSVPing for events, and like how many unique RSVPs are there. So is it that someone in like a 3-month period is attending 3 different events, because that's pretty awesome. Then we're able to see like, wow, we're having some solid retention, versus someone that maybe shows up once. Yeah, that RSVP is great, but we never see them again, or it's like 12 months later. So again, being able to see like both our attendees, so RSVPs, who's actually saying, yes, I'll go to this. So it's pretty cool to see. February was a real bad month for us this year. I'm not sure why, but we kind of continued to really go up after that. And then it's also important for us to see like, okay, we know how many people are actually showing up to these events. It's continuing to grow this RSVP number, which is correlated hopefully with the fact that we're hosting more events, but it's pretty cool to see like, that number continuing to tick up, showing that like with scale, we're still getting like a solid amount of people. The other thing is interesting is how many people are hearing about user groups and actually joining our communities. That's another thing. We have some of our diehards, but how can we actually make sure that people are like continuing to hear about us, going to the site and then saying like, oh sweet, I live in Boston, I travel to San Francisco a week a month, I'm going to join both of these. So really cool for us to be able to see that as well. And then the third is feedback, and this is huge for us and really helps kind of shape our program completely year after year. So what we do, and we kind of gauge feedback 2 different ways. After each user group event, kind of around the world, we have a trigger email scheduled to send through Bevy that sends a post-event survey that asks people like basically measuring, did we meet your expectations? Was this something that you'd recommend to a friend or colleague? What did you really like about it? What did you feel was missing? And, hey, also, do you want to ever present at one? So then we funnel that information back to our leaders so that hopefully it gives them some leads for presentations. The other huge thing that we do is an annual user group survey. So this is sent out every January to all, like at this point, 18,000 members. And we hope, we get a couple thousand responses, and this helps us really dictate like what we focus on, and also again like proving value. So 35% of our user group members kind of shows us like their organization size. So if I know that like for us, my marketing team is looking for like a small teams campaign, I'm like, well, hey, like that's 35% of our like base. You should really like create a presentation for us, or let's figure out like how to send someone to present at a user group. If some people are like, oh, like we're not looking to focus and attract like non-technical people, we care more about like admins or developers, we can be like, well, hey, here's some more information on like what our actual group like looks like, come again, give us stuff to share with them. And here's a little bit more, and this is more the value of like, a lot of people, 71% are sharing information they learned from user groups back with their team, which it's like, okay, as Atlassian, for example, we don't have a traditional sales team. So it's like, boom, we have some champions that are taking that information and sharing it back within their companies, and therefore like championing Atlassian and improving, validity for our products. Similar to how like I won't buy something from Amazon unless it has like 5 stars, even though I never actually give reviews myself, but it's that whole kind of mentality. And then again, like 73% of our members find these groups useful, very useful when they adopt our products. So for us, like that's how we're able to trickle this down and really make a business case. So in conclusion, I think kind of the 3 things we really care about is defining success. So we figured out, oops, I don't know if you can see this. We figured out like how do we show and prove our awesomeness, like what matters to us as a team internally versus like how for us kind of other decision makers, how do we show them that we're successful as well. Also knowing our audience, so our surveys and just getting to have a better idea of who the people are that comprise our community so that we can meet their needs better. And then thanking our Beyoncés, so our user group leaders, the people that volunteer and really kind of make this whole thing happen. How do we ensure that we really thank them? For us, we're kind of like a slightly mission-driven community in the sense that people really like resonate with our values and really care about kind of who we are as a company. And so we have some perks for them, like a free ticket to our annual summit, beta opportunities, but really it's for like them being able to say that they're involved with this community. So we figure out ways to make sure that we constantly kind of highlight and thank them. So thanks you guys for listening. That's kind of my story in a nutshell. And I don't know if anyone has any questions or follow through.
I have a question. Maybe I can start. Thank you so much for putting this together. I just wanted to know, Ashley, if you could talk a little bit about when executives inside the company or the senior marketing people inside the company, when they talk about the user groups, what buckets do they put it in? What do they talk about in terms of value? Do they look at it as like what? How is it perceived internally? Because from having spoken with lots and lots of organizations, it feels to me like it is unusually well supported inside of Atlassian than in other places. So I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about that.
We went from 0 to hero in about a year, I would say. And that was a lot because my boss was hired in, to be really honest. And I think the big thing was figuring out like, how do we market our success? Like we know we have a group of really dedicated people. We know that they're continuing to help us grow, and that really it's about them. Like they're the ones driving this. We're just kind of like hoping we can support them and keep them happy because they're awesome. And basically, really listening to what they want. But what we were able to do, I think, like to initially get that support, because no one really cared like 2.5 years ago, was explaining to them, like kind of peeling back, like these people aren't here for free pizza. They can go get pizza somewhere else. Like they're here because they really care about our products. Like these are the stories that they're sharing. So like we always come back with a story no matter what from our user group events. So I explained like, hey, this nonprofit Mercy Ships uses all of our products to not only help with, they're the largest like floating hospital in the world. It's essentially a cruise ship, and everyone on it volunteers, and they perform life-saving surgeries in countries that otherwise would have no access to this sort of medical technology. They use Atlassian to power everything from onboarding their volunteers to talking with their cargo holder area that has all the medical supplies when they're like low. And people lose their minds over that story because it's like a non-technical way that we use Atlassian. And these are the people showing up to our community, like sharing this amazing stuff with us. So that gets some people excited. Other things are like, hey, like people will come and tell us that like Atlassian has changed the way that their career is going, and that they want, if their company was to stop using Atlassian products, they would consider employment somewhere else. Like these are things that are like piquing the interest of kind of our larger, I guess, executives. And then being able to show the data, like we don't have, again, a traditional sales team, and we're able to show like our reach globally for basically, you know, when you look at what like the reach we have versus like a marketing campaign and the amount of money you put into each of them, like this is a far cheaper option with a lot more organic excitement around it than maybe like a campaign that we would do otherwise. So I think that's how we've been able to show kind of a lot of success, was just being like, hey, here's our growth. Like, here are these people that are so excited and so into it. The other thing is that we've put those leaders in front of our executive team. So we have Summit, we do, which is our annual conference that our executive team is there. It's for all Atlassian users. And we like have a recognition dinner for the leaders, and they're there actually with our CEOs and our VP, our president, who are like really wonderful to come. And they are our CEOs and our exec team gets so inspired and just so in awe of these people, not only for their commitment to like Atlassian, but how excited they are about these products, that it's really hard for them to not like feel that excitement. And luckily, like we're able to help carry that through the year when we show them all this kind of data. So yes, we've been quite lucky, but I think like we kind of grease the wheels with numbers and growth and good stories, and then like making sure that they get that face time kind of with the higher ups, so they really feel that excitement and kind of that power of our community.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Ashley? She is all ears right now. We have about 4 minutes left on the clock. So
nothing from me, but thank you.
Sure.
I have more questions, but I'm trying to let other people talk. So I talk to Ashley all the time. I'll ask something else. If you have a question, just post in the chat or just raise your hand or unmute and scream out, and I'll shut up. Another question I have for you, Ashley, is how Atlassian values from a marketing perspective. Can you talk about how they value, say, somebody that attends an event versus like an impression from Facebook or from a billboard ad, or like where do you put it in the marketing stack, and like do you weight it in a certain way? You know, just would love to just is those things get lined up against each other, or other aspects of partner marketing, just, you know, where you guys weight, you know, if somebody attends an event, it's certainly a much bigger deal than if, you know, about Jira, then it's a much different kind of impression than if they see a banner ad on Facebook or something, yeah. Right? So have you all talked at all about that, or ways that you guys think about the differences of those things?
I mean, I think so. I think that's something that we're definitely like getting more eloquent with, I guess, because it is like something that you're checking out for 5 seconds versus like I don't know, there's not a lot that would motivate me after a day of work to like go and talk with people about, especially if it's about the products I've used all day. So for that, like I'm always in awe of our community, but I think, you know, it's pretty basic. Like when we talk to some of our marketing team that will actually host road shows or go somewhere, like they very much recognize already, like it's, you know, we try to make it pretty basic, like someone sitting and listening to you, asking questions and engaging, or even kind of like absorbing what other people are sharing is a lot more valuable than someone like looking for 3 seconds at kind of a banner somewhere. So being able to have that person's like focused attention for the most part, and being able to kind of engage them in a dialogue. And I think, you know, the value of, you know, when they're there, they're able to really like make whatever kind of thing we're talking about them, about whatever their experience is, you know, and trying to do DevOps with our tools or whatever, like it then resonates much more because they're able to kind of like add it to whatever kind of their day-to-day work perspective is. So that's kind of where we weight it. I think a lot more highly than maybe just an impression. It takes a bit more legwork for sure, but I think they're able to see kind of, you know, our marketing team, the value behind that as well.
One other question that I had that you guys do really, really well compared to just about anybody is you have these really, really passionate leaders. And I wonder if you could just talk about what you do to keep the flame alive with the user group leaders. What you did to, like, in the beginning when you didn't have a lot of these people, how you sort of multiplied them, and then how you keep them so engaged over, what's now become years and years and years.
Yeah, I think the first thing was like I just did my best to like learn about them and who they were and like these other weird pieces of their lives. Like one of our products is Jira, and the like business card that she has as her official title at work is Jira Queen. And like, that's ridiculous and should be celebrated, because how are people like this jazzed up about our products? So there's that piece of like trying to get to know them. Like if someone had a baby, I'd send them a onesie. So there's that piece where they really feel like we hear them. And if they had feedback or they had thoughts, like I addressed it and I would always acknowledge it. Whether or not I could do anything about it was a different story, but at least they knew I heard them. So that's kind of a piece of it. The other thing is we've kind of, in some ways, we've added incentives. They are like very friendly competitors with one another. They also have like the greatest fear of missing out of any group I've ever met in my life. And so how can we like positively work with that? So things like we created incentive levels. So there's like silver, gold, and Beyonce Platinum. Beyonce is a theme within this community that I push like just slightly, but like silver is, hey, you're awesome. Like you're hosting 4 events per year. We're super grateful. Like you're going to get a free ticket to Summit and you're awesome. Like you're not excluded from anything, but like, oh, are you gold? Like you have 6 events per year. Great, we're gonna give you like free beta certification, which is like a huge perk for someone who's really invested in our products to be like certified as an Atlassian like Jira admin is actually a really great thing for your LinkedIn, your resume. So like it's things that aren't just related to the user groups that we try to give them because they're so jazzed up about Atlassian. What are pieces that we can kind of provide them as well. And then Platinum, it's like, oh great, okay, we're gonna like give you hotel accommodations at Summit and you're gonna get a companion pass. And the thing that they love the most was like we'll give you like a desk award. And they were like, what? This is amazing. And I was like, that's okay, like sure. Like that was the like most exciting thing. They're like, we would get something we can put in our office. And I was like, yeah, okay. And so it's just like for us, like it's these little things. And sometimes I laugh because it's like stuff that I didn't necessarily think would be the most of value, but it shows like how cool our community is they're not in it for like, they're not in it for like random like perks. They're more like the recognition like amongst their peers and within Atlassian is like the utmost for them. So we just try to really like highlight those things each time.